Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I am interviewing leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week, every Monday and Thursday. This is the second half of the interview with Stephen Doran. Listen to the previous episode, number 69, where Stephen discussed the misconception of knowledge is power, the importance of congruence, how our reality is actually constructed from our own personal beliefs, and also he talked about 2 amazing challenges that he has in his book, Burn the Bullshit. There is something again I wanted to ask personally, but it is in your book as well, and it is the concept of empathy, and in a way it's opposite, which you could say it's not exactly the opposite, but jealousy. In the way, especially towards other people's success. So there is a phrase by Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, that he was saying, I will read it. It says, rejoice in all their successes and be moved by their every failure. And I think some people, and I will include myself because I'm going to be very honest, I find it hard to do sometimes, to empathize with some others' sufferings and to congratulate with their successes. So can you tell me what your thoughts are on that?
Yes, I can relate on the former. I can relate less on the latter, but I certainly could relate in the past. So empathizing, I find, it's context dependent. So there's, of course, we're told it's right to empathize and to feel for people. But sometimes I can't help but to make a judgment on whether or not somebody's creating their own circumstance, in which case, or if it would be easy enough to change, in which case it's harder for me to empathize. It doesn't mean I'll dismiss them, but I will try and find a constructive solution. If they don't want to know, fine, but I probably won't dwell, I don't really feel sorry for many people. I would say any, but I don't want to say that just in case it's not true. I'm just racking my brains now. I wouldn't say I empathize or feel sorry for anyone. We're all dealt a hand, and that's life. And if you're expecting life to be fair, then I think you've got a strange misunderstanding of what life is. What we do with our hand and how we act, that's up to us. Because I see, and we all see every day, people that have been maybe given quite a challenging or difficult hand, and then people who've been given more. And people getting on and people struggling. And I understand and appreciate that everybody's challenges are relative. And I'm not ignorant enough to think that we don't have challenges. But I empathize more for somebody who's trying to help themselves and is not is finding that difficult or not progressing than I would with somebody who's not making an effort, or who really is just allowing themselves to be stuck in a certain place or in a certain situation or scenario. Or look, like I said, bad things happen. We're all, and again, I always think about what I say because I don't want to upset people. But let's say, look, all of us will deal with grief, for example, but we'll all deal with it in a very different way. And I understand grieving, but I also believe there's a point when it's important to move on. But some people, not by conscious intention, but maybe, let's say, and I'm using this as one singular example, there's plenty of other examples because grief's quite a profound one. Let's say somebody passes away, let's say my girlfriend or my mum or whoever passes away, and I get supported and I'm grieving, fine. But if I feel that suddenly I'm getting a benefit from that, a pleasure or a reward, which is love or attention from my friends, and suddenly it becomes okay. Now I've got to be very tactical in how I word this, but I've got a client, and obviously I can't disclose who my clients are, but I've got a client at the moment who's facing an extreme physical limitation. Yeah, and I'm trying not to be too specific because I just don't want to break confidentiality.
Sure.
But an extreme physical limitation. And what he's found and what he's said to me is that he finds that now, because of that, he's becoming lazy because people will pass him things and people will do things for him, and and I said, cool, but my job as a coach is to not let you off the hook. You gotta, you need to kick up the arse and stop being lazy, because he's not going to be happy like that. But of course, if the environment surrounds you, and often through good intentions, if people are reinforcing a behavior, whether intentional or not, then I think it can make it worse. And it's one of the reasons I'll only give support to a point. I'll only support somebody as far as I realize that they actually want support or need support. And there's a point where we can accidentally nurture somebody into staying in a problem, and I'm very wary of that. I know that's quite an elaborate way of explaining, but I hope it makes
it makes sense.
I hope it makes sense.
What about the other part, the feeling the other people's success, or the
feelings of jealousy? Yeah, I think the danger of jealousy, in terms of not being happy for other people's success, is that at some level you're closing yourself to that. You're telling yourself that, one, that's a bad thing, whether you realize it or not. Like, let's say I got a friend and they've got a business that's making lots of money. As soon as I start to pass a negative judgment on that, what I'm telling myself is that's a bad thing, whether I realize it or not. And I think it limits your own ability to go and achieve that. And generally, what I've found is that you would not feel jealous about something unless it's something that you value, And I think in my book I give an example of I'm not interested in fishing. I've got nothing against it, but it's just not a hobby for me. So if you said to me, "Oh, this person's got all the best fishing rods and they caught this fantastic fish," I don't really care, But if I'm a life coach and you go, "This person's a super duper life coach, he's so successful, he's got so many clients, he charges so much money," and then it's more likely to get an emotional feeling from me because it's something that I care about. So
yes.
With that in mind, it says to me, well, this is something that you care about, so you should be very careful about associating negative feelings to it. What I think is a much, much, much better way, and this is what I've come to realize over the years, is to actually take all of those people that are extremely good at things that you want to do and embrace them, to ask them to, because these are the, if I'm in the gym and I want to get into good shape, and I've seen this firsthand, and you'll be with people and they go, "I look at him, he's in great shape," and they'll start making negative comments. I'm like, "Yeah, he's in amazing shape. He looks fantastic." And I'll go over and say, "How did you get in this shape? What do you eat? What's your training? I want your strategy." No part of me is feeling threatened by your achievement. I know that you deserve it. I know you've worked for it. I know and even if you didn't, then so what? But I think the magic formula is to embrace these people, because they're going to encourage you to grow and to teach you things beyond your current standing, because they've achieved a certain level of success. I could, if I was a jealous person, I don't think I could have my current friend circle. I'm around very extremely successful people in fitness, in business, in lots of ways. In fact, I make a point of, striving to be surrounded by people that are more successful than me, in different aspects. I think that's important, because otherwise you don't stretch and people won't stretch you. And people like that, who have achieved that, they can see your future in a way that other people may not, even with the best intentions, be able to see. They understand, well, it is possible. If you want to be a millionaire, yeah, of course it's possible. You do this, you do that. Simplifying again. But if you push these people away, your chances are very, very limited of achieving it. So yeah, I can understand the emotional feeling, but I think it's important to understand what it means. there's a song where it says jealousy is love and hate at the same time, and I thought it's only a lyric in a song by Drake, but I just thought it's an interesting saying, like jealousy is love and hate at the same time. You have to love something to care enough to be jealous of it. So it's like that love and hate. But I think it should just be love and love. It's like, oh, well done, I see what you've achieved, it's fantastic, how did you do it? I won your strategy. So I understand the feeling, but I look at it in a very different way.
You made it very, very clear, so thank you for that. And you said about being surrounded with people who are higher than you, or there is that phrase that if you are the most successful person in the room, you're in the wrong room, because you can't grow like that. So talking about success, Stephen, what does success mean to you?
Again, of course, I totally appreciate this is a very subjective opinion, and for me, success is, and I'll use this term, but success is just being happy. Yeah. So it's the easiest way I can put it, and it's how I generally do put it. Success is being happy, and now I appreciate, and the reason I had a caveat, I appreciate that you're not just going to be smiling and laughing and all day every day, because that's not necessarily what's reality. And I want to be clear on that, because sometimes people say to me, like, oh, you're always happy. I'm like, well, that's not true. I can have a day where I wake up and I'm not happy, but I can also step back and understand and appreciate that I'm not happy and be aware of that and warn people and and act in a certain way. I don't always just try and become happy, but for me, success is being happy. But the difference between individuals is, what does it take to get you to that point? For some people, success means a certain amount of money in the bank, which is fine. But I've come to realize over time that some of these metrics are just vanity metrics, or just numbers plucked out of the sky. I want to have £10 million. Yeah, fine, for what? £10 million is pretty useless unless you're spending it. So perhaps it's a cash flow. I want to have a certain amount of money each month. And okay, that's more tangible for me. If you work out what it is that you want as your lifestyle and how much money you need to sustain that lifestyle without worrying about, your bill. But I've also come to appreciate over time that once you get past a certain threshold of wealth, it all becomes pretty irrelevant. I mean, there's marginal increases, but they are marginal. Once you're not worrying about eating, shelter, all these things on, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once you've got all your bases covered, having a slightly better car or a slightly bigger house, it doesn't mean much. So for me, it's just being happy. And being happy doesn't always mean having what you want, but it might be knowing that you're on the journey to achieving what you want. It might be that I've got a fitness goal. So I can be happy before I reach the goal, at least knowing that I'm on the path to achieving the goal, because I'm doing the training. And so many people underestimate that journey. And I know it's very cliche, but they really do. The enjoyable part of being an entrepreneur is the hustle and the growth and the knockbacks and the setbacks and the coming back and this part of it's not just the fruits. And if you believe it's just the money, then you'll be disappointed when you get the money. Take it from me, and the money tastes sweeter with a struggle. So, but yeah, I've come over the years. My thoughts, what I realized is they probably change again, but over the years, my thoughts have really developed and changed a lot, and some of the philosophical concepts have really resonated for me. One of them was I'm reading for the third time Darren Brown book, his book called Happy. And one of the philosophical concepts that were posed in there was that if you were the only person on earth and everybody else was gone, taken away the fact that you would be sad, but everybody's gone, but you're the only person now on the earth and you have access to whatever you want. You can have whatever house and whatever car and whatever clothes and whatever else. Well, what would you have? Well, okay, fine. Maybe at the beginning you're going to get this Lamborghini and this, all of these. I'm going to go and live in this big mansion, but give it a few months and you're going to start thinking, well, this isn't the most comfortable car, and this is quite an impractical house. So you're going to go back and maybe probably live in a house which is more suitable in terms of the size, and you're going to drive a car which is more comfortable. And then it starts to make you think, well, if these are the things that I would do, then why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And then for me, I pondered that question for 2 years. actually, well, nearly 2 years, since December 2018. I've been pondering this quite a lot. I meditate on it quite a bit, and I find it so interesting. It starts to make you think, well, how much of what I'm doing is for me, and how much of what I'm doing is for everybody else? And what a sad world where, you know, and I guess it's part of the consumer culture that we're in, but what a sad world where we're working hard to spend our money to impress somebody who doesn't give a shit anyway. And if anything, sometimes maybe they get jealous and it upsets them and it makes them feel uncomfortable. You know, and I'm not knocking wealth. I just want to be totally clear on that. And I'm not knocking luxury things, or because I think they're fantastic, and I really do. But I think it's all coming down to having the conscious awareness of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because, like I say, and who you're doing it for. You know, and I've come full circle on some things, like jewelry, for example. You know, why do I want to pay so much money? I've got to be very strategic and conscious now in how I say things. But why do I don't personally, and I don't have anything against these life choices. I don't personally see a value in an extremely expensive watch. If anything, I see it as a security risk and an unnecessary concern. You know, and when I did go through that phase of my life, you know, and I'm going to certain countries and places and I'm wearing expensive items, really in the back of my mind, I'm always, aware of who's around. But now I wear an activity tracker, which tells me 10 times more information. Is much more useful for me. So I guess I'm just getting over my belief about what I need to do to demonstrate my success to others. And I just don't give it. And maybe it's part of age as well. I do, but I guess it probably ties in with experience. I just care less what people think. I care what people think of themselves. I don't really care what they think of me, within reason. And what I care about is living a life that I enjoy and being with people that I enjoy being with. And so I guess that's my long-winded answer for what you're saying. But it intrigues me, and this is part of the reason why it's not entirely, but it's part of the reason why I've detached from social media as well, because I feel like a lot of this stuff is at least accelerated by social media and this culture of seeing loads of people you would have never seen before, living lives that I'm sure that, which are fantastic, but it's not your life, and it doesn't have to be. And you may think you want it to be, but the grass often tends to be green. I just think there's this culture of people, especially people buying expensive items of clothing, for example, and I don't like to feel that I'm having a pop at people, and I'm not, and I appreciate if you're into clothing, this is fine for you, but it's not for me. Buying an expensive item of clothing to take a picture of it to show everybody on my fucking Instagram that I've paid too much for my t-shirt. It's almost bragging. It's almost bragging that you've done something silly, and I'm maybe not being so I'm always not being so tactical now, but I think to myself, I can buy a t-shirt for £5. Why am I going to pay £500? I can buy 100 t-shirts for that. The cost difference is so disproportionate. I would rather spend that £500 towards a holiday and enjoying myself and spending time with my girlfriend and go out for a meal or do things that are important to me. And so I stepped back, and part of my stepping back was, well, what is important to me? What do I want to spend money on? There is a certain, I'm aware as well that I do probably want a higher than average income and need it to support the life that I choose to live. But that's fine. At least I'm aware of it. But that's because I want to travel a lot and also travel in a certain level of comfort and whatever else. But it's very experiential. I think where I like my finances to go is on experiences, that can never be taken away. And even in the Bible, I think there's a part that says, "Don't store yourself up for." And I'm not necessarily religious, so I apologize to anyone, but I'm paraphrasing here. Don't store yourself up for treasures on earth, where thieves will break in and steal them and rust destroys them. And, it's like, this stuff's all so fleeting and temporary. I don't care if you pay £500 for your t-shirt. If you wash it 20 times, it's threadbare. I think when it comes to fashion, I think the best fashion is keeping yourself in shape. But sometimes that's a bit more difficult. And, I don't know. It's a very fascinating. When you step back from the world and you take a look at it, I understand why it is how it is. I think it's very primitive psychology, and you start to appreciate the drivers but it's fantastic and it's interesting, and yeah, I just don't want to. It's some parts of culture I don't want to be a part of, and this is where I sometimes step back and just want to live my life. And also I don't want to be, even if I'm not being a part of it, I don't want to be perceived sometimes to be a part of it or be a part of the problem, because I do, look, I'm going to be honest, I have a good life, and I'm fortunate enough to experience good things. And if I document that whole thing, it might not make everybody happy. When I first started making a big effort on social media years ago, I truly just had a mission of celebrating and sharing what I perceived to be my success at the time, and inspiring people to join me, because I realized very quickly there was nothing that I'd done or that I did that anybody couldn't easily replicate. It was all very straightforward, and it served that purpose. And I had a really good, vibrant, positive social media. But then I think there was a point when, for me, social media changed, and then it maybe again it's this echo chamber of just seeing a lot of what you're putting out, and then I started to worry that I was maybe appearing materialistic in a way that I wasn't. And the honest truth is, when I started having to think about it too much, I just thought, fuck it, because it's not important enough. And that's why I just stepped back. I was like, fuck it, it's not important enough. What's important to me is the people close to me, and my day-to-day life. So in answer to your question on success,
I don't even remember what the question was.
I was just trying to think, like, loop it back. In answer to your question of what is success, for me,
yes,
it is just being happy. And I'm not here to judge what makes people happy. Whatever makes you happy, that's good, and I'm happy for you. I'm just on a journey of understanding what truly makes me happy.
Absolutely, I get it. Thank you for that. And I will ask a question that came to mind earlier on. You said something about you said that the enjoyable part of entrepreneurship is the grind, the hustle. It's not the fruit, the result. So, and that's a very, very important concept for people to understand. Is there any other piece of advice you would give in terms of the entrepreneurial mindset, especially with people who are transitioning from an employee mentality towards working for themselves and facing these hustles and challenges, and not necessarily seeing them as joyful as you described them?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads. I could, as you probably are starting to become aware.
You've been there many times. Yeah.
And so there's loads of what I found in my experience. And look, when I say that that's the enjoyable part, it is very common that you do not realize at the time how much the challenges and the terrible things that seem to happen turn out to be the best stuff. If I tell you stories about businesses that I've had, they generally will revolve around the big challenges and the things that have gone wrong, which at the time it was like, oh my God. And then afterwards you're sitting thinking, this was amazing, look what we overcame, or so I get that. I just think but as time goes on, you start to step back and go, this is one of those challenges, and I think a life without challenges would be extremely boring. The advice that I would give, if I'm in a position to give it, I guess, would be to don't worry, man. Like, it's just, if nothing's gonna go this is so pessimistic, nothing is gonna go totally to plan. But if it did, that would be shit. It would be so boring. You might as well not live a lot. If you can map out everything that you want to do and achieve, some things are going to go great, and a lot of things are going to go totally wrong. And you'll spend a lot of time not feeling, and it's not that you're not being rewarded, but not feeling that you're being rewarded. I used to think I've had quite a few companies, and some of them have been very, very, very unsuccessful. And and I've learned from all of them. and I realized, I used to sit in some of these companies. I sat there and I think, because I've obviously lost reasonable sums of money in some of these companies, and but I will say categorically I wouldn't change it. But I used to sit there and I think, okay, well, I'm paying you guys, so you're all getting paid. And then if I was volunteering my time, I'd be neutral. But I'm like, this is worse than volunteering my time. I'm paying to be here. Everybody's being paid to be here except me. I'm paying. This is costing me money. But it's a very interesting world as an entrepreneur. But you have to be resilient. And we're always in a great period. There's always opportunity. And but I'm very much, I believe in being positive, but I believe in it is very important to have good feedback. And I mean, like, not just criticism, but criticism that's important to get from people that are credible enough to give it. Because it's very easy to go, especially in personal development culture, like, okay, I don't want any naysayers, or I don't want any people that are questioning what I'm doing. But there is a time when it's important to have critical feedback, and it's important to know where you're getting that from, and that it's reliable and trustworthy. So, and I think the best person that can ever give that to yourself is yourself. So it's very important to step back, look at what you're doing and where you can improve it. And it's something that I do every day, every single day. Is, okay, what went well yesterday and what can be improved? And I do that with my partner. We sit and we prepare for a meeting every morning, and I go through what went well for me and what I can improve, and then she'll do the same thing for her business and her life, and amongst a lot of other questions that we go through. But holding yourself accountable is very easy when you turn up to it's funny that people will do more sometimes for somebody else than they will for themselves. Yes. And holding yourself accountable is really important. And of course, if you can find a network to do that with, then I understand and appreciate the value of that. I'm fortunate I've got a lot of business friends and mentors, and also got my partner who has her own business. But if you don't, then I can understand the importance of maybe joining groups and making friends with other people, and getting into a good, healthy practice of holding one another accountable, giving each other positive feedback and giving each other critical feedback, and understanding that it comes from a good place. So yeah, I commend anyone who's going to make that step. One thing I'm quite keen on is not encourage, because people have come to me before, it's like, yeah, I want to leave my job, I'm going to quit and start my business, and I think there's an expectation I'm going to go, yeah, that's amazing. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, like, what's the business? Like, what's the job? Like, why do you have to quit today? Like, are you justifying? Because one thing that I've come to realize over the years that you'll find all around is that people make decisions with emotion and they justify them with logic. Yeah. And so many people are like, I don't want to be in this job, so this is an emotional decision, right? I'm going to leave my job and start a business. Well, you need to support. I'm a very logical thinker, so you need to apply some level of logic to that. So, okay, how are you going to pay the rent or whatever it is for the next few months? If you don't have a plan or a strategy then I'm not going to tell you to leave your job. I'm just not that guy. I think some people think I will, but I'm like, no, wait. Well, can you do this business alongside your job while you get up and running to get to a point and set a level or a threshold? When I hit this much money, then I can go to part-time or hand my notice in or whatever it might be, because otherwise you'll go from the frying pan into the fires, potentially. And if you've never had experience of business, then you're going to have a very, very rude awakening because business is tough. And and it's volatile and it's unstable, and 1 month you might make loads of money and 1 month you might lose money, and then it's up and it's down and it's here, and this is one reason why fortunately, again, this has come through knowledge of my peers, but why I've ultimately ended up investing in property now alongside everything I do, because it's the most stable thing that I have. I receive rents on properties, and it just gives me a base that or a platform that allows me to to take some losses and take some risks elsewhere. But surviving, and as I have done over the years, just on business income, it can be a very emotional roller coaster, and you have to learn to detach I think you have to change your perspective on money, and and stop seeing it as yours, understanding it belongs to the business, and when it goes, and it's a whole new world. I couldn't even, I'd have to write another book, I think. on
Maybe
my,
you should.
Yes, burn the bad business. I don't know, but I'll have a look at it. But no, I just think, look, it's commendable. Do it. Like, if you want to do something, do it. Just do it right, because otherwise, the worst thing would be to do it wrong and to not, and then lose out.
Thank you, Stephen. That's I've been taking notes because there were some things that very important lessons. There is one other big topic that I wanted to discuss, and I really don't want to leave that out of the conversation today, because it's so important. It's so important that we spend a very big portion of our lives doing it. And you have a chapter on your book about that. You call it "Mind Over Mattress," and it's the topic of sleeping, and actually sleeping less. So I don't know, because you wrote a book a few years ago, I don't know if you still have the same beliefs about the need to sleep 6 hours or sleep less than you used to in order to gain time and do things. But tell me, because you say that there is a direct correlation between the sleeping time and success, and I think it was Benjamin Franklin that said that you will find the secret to success under the alarm clock. So it's it is.
Yes, it is one that. It's interesting that you've opened it in the way that you have, because it's one that I'll accept that over time my view is adjusting, and I think it's important to admit that. So I'm certainly not ignorant enough to think that that everything I ever think or believe is correct, and I'm not totally dismissing it, but I think it's something that was right for me at the time, and that over time I've come to review, and I maybe take a slightly different stance. And so, going into what I said about, look, success for me is happiness, or at least feeling good. Part of feeling good can be feeling rested. I think it's important to know when you're resting or when you're being lazy. But since writing that, I've read several books now from sleep experts, and I'm wary of pushing a method onto people that may not work for them. So I will say the sleep thing with the disclaimer that that's what I did for quite a long time. It worked very well for me, but that was complemented with a very good diet and a very active regime, and all over sort of being a very healthy person. I do find some aspects of sleep very interesting. I find that it's interesting that we are the only species that unnaturally wakes ourselves from our sleep. You don't see a dog sort of setting an alarm clock to be up for a certain time, and it is something that we normalize as human beings. But it's also very strange, isn't it? Because you're forcing yourself out of your sleep, perhaps prematurely, perhaps at the wrong phase of sleep, which I think is quite critical. One thing that I do when I'm sleeping less is I use an application. I've got a separate phone which is offline, and I use an application on that phone called Sleep Cycle, and that sets a window of 30 minutes or 45 minutes depending on the setting that you choose. And within that, so if I say, like, tomorrow morning I want to get up between 5:15 and 6 o'clock, rather than saying 6 o'clock, because it's a gamble. Maybe 6 o'clock I'll be midway through a deep sleep, and then I'm not going to feel fully awake. So I think it's important to wake up at the right phase of your sleep cycle. And what this does is it monitors the sound and the movement to assess what phase of your sleep cycle you're in, and it will wake you up at your lightest phase within that window of time. And I find that extremely effective in allowing me to get up and get out and get on. But I also appreciate that different people need different amounts of sleep, and understanding routine is very important as well, because look, you can have 6 hours sleep fine. Is it ideal? Maybe, maybe not, depending on you. how you do that is going to be very different. If you go to bed at 11 and you get up at 5 one day, and then the next day you go to bed at midnight and you get up at 6, and the next day you go to bed at 1 and get up at 6, your sleep's all over the place. So one of the things I did discover from reading these different books is one of the prevalent points. One of the points that kept coming up was that it's very important to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Mm-hmm. You know, your body does not know when it's a Saturday. It does not know when it's a Sunday. So getting up at 6 o'clock every day, and then on a Saturday lying until 10, and a Sunday they're lying until 11, and then trying to get up at 6 o'clock again on a Monday, and then people wonder why on a Monday they're like, oh, I feel terrible. It's a Monday, because your sleep's completely ruined. So I make an effort. One of the practices, I've got several practices with regards to sleep, because sleep is massively important. I wrote out 5 things that I think are extremely important, like, you know, food, exercise, sleep was one of them. I think it's important to get it right. So sleep hygiene, which I'll talk about in a moment, but also sleep routine. Just if you could do one thing, and this is one of the experts, I can't remember which one said this. He said, if you could only do one thing, it would be go to bed and get up at the same time every day. Every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you can do that one thing, I'm not saying it's easy, because for me, it can be a challenge, because if you're doing something of a weekend, then that can be difficult. But if you could just do that one thing, that could be the biggest and best thing you could do with regards to your sleep. The other things that are very important, especially in today's day and age, the quality of sleep that you're getting. Because you can get 8 hours of sleep, but it might be terrible sleep. You know, it might be broken. It might be disturbed. It might be at different times, and then you're not going to be rested anyway. So I think to optimize your sleep, you have to look at the quality. So one thing is sleep hygiene. So this whole thing about not using a screen before you go to bed, that is extremely important. And I'll lock off screens 2 hours before bed. The only screen that I touch before I go to bed then is that one that's by my bed, where I set the sleep cycle window, and then I go to sleep. That one thing is really important to me. Also, what you're doing, like not overstimulating your brain in general before bed. The whole thing with caffeine, not just because and alcohol. I don't drink alcohol, but caffeine, not just because it disrupts your sleep, but also because it doesn't allow you to get the quality of deep sleep that you would otherwise get. And then sometimes you won't be fully rested. And the other thing is, as a diuretic, what I find is if I'm drinking too much caffeine through the day, I might be up during the night. Then, I mean, sorry to be specific, but I might be up during the night going for a wee and then going to sleep again and going for a wee. That's broken sleep, you know, and the quality of my sleep's not as good. So one thing I'll say, okay, mind over mattress. Yes, sleep is important. Not sleeping too much, not being lazy is important. Making sure that the rest that you get is quality. I mean, the hours, I'm going to leave that to the individual. I don't want to get sued, but what was it? You said 6 hours, and now something's going on.
Well, to be fair, you said 6 hours for 21 days. You don't say for the rest of your life. The challenge is for 21 days.
This is true. Yeah, good disclaimer. I'll use that in court. So what I say is is also with sleep, experiment as well, because this is important, right? So try. I mean, and that's true. Try 6 hours, 21 days. If it doesn't work, change it a little bit, 6.5, 7, whatever. But just make sure that the sleep that you're getting is quality, man. So, you know, be careful with caffeine. Make sure your sleep hygiene is good. The temperature in the room is correct. And people underestimate that one as well. You know, people make their rooms really warm. If anybody goes into my bedroom, they're like, whoa, it's like a fridge. But I'm 16 degrees every night. And I'll always make a point. I think it's between 16 and 18 is optimal for sleeping. So for me, I put air conditioning in my room, and I just set it to 16 degrees every night. Every hotel I book now, I have to make sure there's an air con so I can sleep, because it's just so important to create that perfect sleep environment. So that's what I'll add to that chapter. That's what I'd like to add, I think.
an observation with the sleep was really not the sleep itself for me. It is the waking up time. So you say, and it makes sense. And I've also read some books about sleep that talk about the sleep cycles and the importance of waking up when you're in the correct moment of the cycle. It is that concept that when you, let's say you have set an alarm like most people do, and the alarm goes off, and then you press it and you go back and you snooze it. And I think it's Mel Robbins that says that this is the first decision of your day. So if you take that decision, then how will the rest of your day go? And you said earlier that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you choose to snooze the alarm and go back to bed, then you're really setting the tone for more other situations like this, that you will take the comfortable solution rather than doing what you know that you must. And at the very end, you had decided, no one set the alarm for you at 6 o'clock, for example. You set it yourself. So your intention was to wake up at 6. So by going back on your own decision, that's incongruent again, going back to what we were saying.
Yeah, of course it is. I never thought about it, but it is incongruent. It's undermining your previous self. And again, this is an emotional decision backed up by logic, right? And this is what you find, it's an emotional decision. In that moment, you don't feel like doing it. So some people make it logical, like, oh, actually, it's interesting, the psychology, I'm going to start reworking my schedule now. Actually, I can be 10 minutes of thing because I don't need that long here. And the people do this mental arithmetic in the morning, and like, look, just my one advice on that would be just get up. Don't just fucking get up. It's keep it as super simple as possible. Don't snooze. Like you say, you made a decision, and also what you find is when you get up, you wake up. You might not feel like it immediately, but you start to learn to trust the process. Like one thing that I'm fortunate is that every morning, because I meet my friend in the morning, we go for this walk quite early in the morning. I don't have a choice. I would never let him down.
Yes.
So I have to get up. Somebody's waiting for me. But I would say just get up. And this is where a little bit of movement in the morning I think is important. Don't check your screen. Leave that alone. Get out of your bed. Do not touch your screen in the morning in your bed whatsoever, unless it's just to turn the alarm off and get up. Do not do that. Do not do that at all. Get up, move your body, whether it's going for a walk or whether it's just having a little stretch or whatever it is. Move your body, take some water in, and then start. Allow yourself time. Look, it can take time to wake up. Allow yourself a bit of time to wake up. That's fine. But look, resting. One thing I've come to realize is resting generally doesn't give you energy. It's a big misconception that if I'm tired, I need to lay down for a bit, and that's going to make me feel energy. But what tends to happen is you just get less and less energy, and you can't get back up again. If you want energy, you need to move your body, and you need to push some energy into your body, and then you'll find you'll get some energy. In my experience, anyway.
Awesome. And if you really want to take it to the next level, you do what Tony Robbins does: the cold plunge into the freezing water that will wake you up.
I looked into getting a cold plunge. I thought it's a cool thing, but I thought I'd stick with a cold shower. It's a solid way to get up. When I used to take groups, to Spain on like a personal development and a physical sort of like an exercise stroke, a mental psychological retreat. And every morning that's what I'd do. Is 5 o'clock in the morning I'd come around and I'd get everybody out of bed and I'd make everybody jump into the pool. And this was before that documentary, so I just it's nice to know Tony and I are on the same But awesome. What a way to shock that's going to wake you up. That's going to wake you up for sure.
For sure, 100%, yes.
And it's all natural. It's all organic. Yeah.
Stephen, well, it's gosh, we've been speaking for it's been an epic interview and conversation, and I really want to thank you. I think I have the feeling that we could go on for twice as long, but I won't. However, there are some
next time.
Next time, yeah, I'll do. You know, I had some questions I wanted to ask you, and there were some big chunks that they were completely left out because simply they were completely off topic with what we were saying. For example, the focus physiology, language, all these things. I don't think we talked anything about that. But yeah, you can probably go for an hour easily on each of them. So maybe at some point we'll do a sequel. I certainly want to ask you though some quick fire questions, which I always ask my guests, and just to see your responses. I'm sure they will be revealing. So the first one I always ask is, what does personal development mean to you?
For me, it's sorry, quick fire. You know I can't do quick fire. Right?
It doesn't matter, Stephen. Go take it as slow as you want. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, personal development, quick fire. What does it mean to me? It's continuing to grow as a person and to work out, what you want, how you're going to get it, and how you can be of value to society.
I think I have the feeling that you wanted to say more.
I'm stopping myself.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, well, I'm not timing you or anything. So yeah, anyway, let me ask the next one. So if you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's the one piece of advice you would give him?
Don't worry. And just enjoy it. Just enjoy it all. Enjoy it all. There's no rerun, like I say, like we know, or as far as we know. Yeah, just don't worry. Don't worry.
Awesome. And if you could wave a magic wand and change something in the world as it is today, what would you change?
This is difficult. But if I answer with integrity, I mean, because you could say, oh yeah, I'd change COVID, or I could change, so many things. There's so many things that would warrant change and would be understandable. But honestly, my gut, I'm going to answer with my gut, and not my heart, which would tell me to change so many of these issues, or not my head, which would tell me, all these logical solutions. I'm going to answer with my gut, which is nothing. I would change nothing. I do believe that everything is as it should be. I really do.
I think because I ask this question of all my guests, and there have been probably two, you are the third one out of 60 or plus people that have said nothing. And it's always a very interesting topic, and I can see exactly the point in changing nothing, because in a way everything is as it's meant to be. Because if it's orchestrated, or if there is a higher intelligence or anything, a universe, you want to call it God, whatever, that is creating this, then they know what they're doing.
Of course, if there is, then they know what they're doing, and if there isn't, then it's still fine. And even if things may not seem fine, that is just that is just an opinion. I get that things may feel tough, but that is just a feeling, and I truly believe that there's nothing good or bad. It's just thinking that ascribes it that judgment. Everything just is what it is, and I don't want to say that flippantly. Everything is what it is, and will be what it will be. And I think it's so important to embrace what everything is. But I really, like I say, there's so many things I feel like I should say, because it feels like the right things to say. But the truth is, I would change nothing. If you gave me that wand, I would tell nobody that you gave me the wand. I would lock it in the drawer, and I would let everything be as it is.
Sure. Stephen, do you want to share with us a big breakthrough that you had over the last year or so?
A big breakthrough that I've had over the last year. I guess the one that I touched on earlier is just that consideration of like, who am I doing this for? You know, I just think that question, constantly evaluating that question, and also just, which I don't know if it's over the last year, but just realizing that there's something to learn in everything, especially the things that you don't enjoy at the time, and that in those learnings, that's where the magic is, and so to always constantly look for that learning, to constantly, like a dog with a bone, but to always just strive to know more and to be more and to do more, you know, just and simultaneously accept what you are, who you are, and where you are.
Thank you. So, out of emerging from all this conversation we had, Stephen, so if you were to give to the listener one piece of one actionable item, something that can take from everything that we've talked about to take action on and, you know, make some improvement in their lives, what would you choose?
I would, tying into what we've said, I'd give the advice to get over themselves. And to get over, by that I mean to get over their beliefs. The actionable advice I'd give is to buy my book. That's the actionable advice. But I guess, and you'll notice there's no answer that's very condensed with me in the short interim. I'm sorry, there's so much I want to throw out, but
it's okay. I enjoy
some of the things I said. Good. Recapping some of the things I said. If you don't like something, then you need to do one of two things: either change your process or change your perception, and start to think about what that is. What I would say is to stop worrying about what people think, because they probably don't think it, and even if they do, then who cares? And just to go after what it is that you want. Time's ticking. You're not going to get a refund. You get one life, but if you live it right, then that is more than enough. So go out, get what you want. Obviously, don't do anything that hurts anybody, but other than that, or yourself, other than that, go and do what you want, get what you want, live how you want, with people that you want to, and make sure that you give something back to the world.
Amazing. Thank you. Do you want to share how can someone who wants to find out more about you, how can they connect, or where would you direct someone that wants to know more about Stephen Doran?
Yes, of course. They can go to my website, which is just being built at the moment, and I believe that the domain name is www.stephendoran.co.uk, but you might want to whack that in the comments just in case.
I will put it in the comments, yes.
Yeah, I'm not the best at self-promotion, but I'm trying better. I'm trying to get what's the word? Better at it.
We've had an epic conversation. I really appreciate. Is there anything at all that you were hoping that we would discuss and completely left?
Not that I can think of. No, I've really enjoyed the flow. I mean, like I said to you before this, I'm happy to discuss certain things, but at the same time, I'm happy to just talk and just see where it goes. And I feel that with some guidance from you, we've opened up and uncovered some cool stuff.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I really appreciate your time and sharing all this with me and the listeners today. All the very best with everything that you are going to do from now on. Any parting words?
Live daily. Of course, live daily. Thank you very much, Aggie. I really do appreciate your time. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe and review Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this podcast with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to gain access to exclusive content while supporting this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpad. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, or if you have any questions, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.